Hello, welcome to Laura's World. I'm Laura, and this is part 3 and hopefully the last installment of the I've Been Sick Storytime saga. Once again, I am issuing a content warning. This time I am going to be talking about 2 very specific medical procedures, one a little more grody than the other. There will be talk of blood, incisions, pain, medical trauma, medical gaslighting. Again, if any of that makes you feel uncomfortable, I don't want you to feel that way. So just feel free to click off, and hopefully we'll be getting back into the fun stuff after this. Again, a lot of my followers are friends and family, and they are interested to have an update on what's going on with me. So if this doesn't interest you, it does not hurt my feelings if you don't want to watch it. I want you to feel safe, and I want this to be generally a fun place for you to hang out, a fun space, if you will, interspersed with things that are going on in my life, because as a chronically ill person, this is my life. So again, if anything medical makes you uncomfortable, I'll see you in another video. Thanks. As always, I really don't care if I'm doing things wrong, out of order, whatever, but I'm coming in with my cuddly grape water because it's just, I love it. So Tuesday night, I'm told, no more eating or drinking anything after, no more eating after 9 p.m. and no more drinking after midnight, because the stress test has to be on an empty stomach, empty bladder, etc. Which is funny because I have to take a pill early in the morning. They give me my thyroid pill early in the morning. So they come in with another pain pill and a thyroid pill, and I look at them like, I'm not supposed to have anything to drink. And they're like, oh, one little sip of something isn't going to kill you. So I'm expecting to be given a little, those little cups of water. No, this woman brings over my drunk, my half-consumed can of Diet Coke and says, take a sip. And I'm like, are you serious? You're a nurse and you're telling me to take pills with soda? So the morning rolls around, and the breakfast cart comes and naturally skips me because I'm on no eating. I don't remember what time. It might have been 9:30, 10 o'clock. My chariot arrived. It was just another bed that they rolled me down to the nuclear stress test arena. And they checked my blood pressure, which was really high. But the test had to go on, so it is what it is. So essentially what happens in a nuclear stress test is they inject you with radioactive isotopes that get picked up by a machine to track what your heart is doing, how it's pumping, what the blood flow looks like, and things like that. It's within safe, supposedly. I mean, for all we know, we're all poisoning ourselves anyway, but it's within safe parameters for radioactive exposure for humans. Considering how many x-rays, CTs, and MRIs I get, I mean, my body should be glowing by this point. So they inject you with the isotopes, let you sit for a minute, and then put you in a machine where a camera takes very slow pictures of your heart rotating around for about 14 minutes. If you're asking how was your back, it was screaming, but like I said, gotta get it done. So I sat through that, then came out and waited, and then I got brought into another room where they injected me with another chemical. I'm not entirely, I don't remember what this one was called, but basically what it does is it simulates stressing your heart. That's why it's called a stress test. It simulates what it would be like if I was to jump on a treadmill and start running. And the minute the drug enters your bloodstream, you feel your heart starting to go, and it's a little bit scary because you're very uncomfortable. You feel literally like the wind is knocked out of you. That was my experience, at least. And so they kept checking on me, and I'm like, like, it was bad, man. And it was just like the first one that I had. So I knew what to expect, but it doesn't make it any less uncomfortable. So they're watching my blood pressure, they're watching my pulse, and I was also hooked up to an EKG, and they're watching that, and the cardiologist is looking at it, and he's like, hmm. And he looks at me, and he's like, how are you feeling? I'm like, not that great. Not great. And he's like, all right, well, the big thing that we look at is the pictures of your heart after this. And I'm like, whatever, doc. So after this test is done, I'm feeling a little beat up, a little like shit, more than I already was for being in the hospital. And they say, okay, so now we're going to give you caffeine because that's what's going to help get rid of your headache and make you feel a little bit better. Do you want regular or Diet Coke? And I look at my blood sugar, and it's pretty stable. And I say, you know what, I'll just take a Diet Coke. It's fine. Soda is not my favorite, and it takes me a long time to drink soda because of my stomach. And something I'll get into at another point. But I'm sipping it real slow, and they're like, come on, you have to drink it, you have to drink it. I'm like, I'm going as fast as I can. The bubbles, I got, they're going to hurt. I got to drink it slow. So they're like, okay, just keep sipping on it, keep sipping on it. And the caffeine does make you feel better after going through. So I'm drinking and drinking and drinking. And then they bring me back to the camera room. And it's funny because I kind of more or less made friends with the tech that was in the room. We were talking about mythology and all kinds of crazy things, and the origin of vampires and the vampire werewolf dichotomy. And I'm writing a book, he's writing a book, we're comparing notes, and then he's telling me that, I gotta watch this movie and I gotta watch that movie and blah blah blah. And my main characters are vampires, and one of them is named Vlad, and the other is named Celeste. Vlad, short for Vladislaus. And he rolled his eyes at me. He's like, really? A vampire named Vlad? How original. Like, we were having a really, really fun back and forth discourse. It was fun. We were both very sarcastic people, so we were just busting each other the whole time, which helped make me feel better. I was glad at least I had that going for me. And he's yelling at me. He's like, drink the water, or the water. Drink the soda, drink it. That's gotta help you. Everybody's yelling at me to drink this goddamn soda. Alright, so now we're gonna come in with this Laura Mercier Micellar water, because why not? So about 5 minutes go by, and he's like, how you feeling? I'm like, hammered shit, the usual. And he goes, all right, well, are you ready to get back on the saddle for the next 14 minutes of pictures of the after effects? I said, yeah, let's get her done. He's like, I like your attitude. I said, what am I going to do? Fight? No, I don't want to do it. Take me away. So back on the table, and the time went a little quicker this time around. Like the 14 minutes went a little quicker because, too much product. My bad. Anyway, I made kind of a counting game out of every rotation. I managed to... musicians tend to do this. When they have any kind of rhythmic anything around them, they will find out what meter is it in, how many beats can I fit into this, and everything. So making a game out of it like that and exercising my brain a little bit made it go a little bit faster and grounded me a little bit. I was feeling a little out of it. I'm just tired from all this testing and all this pain and all this blah, blah. So, yeah, put my brain to work for a little bit, and that was good. This feels nice. I'm not gonna lie. It's just micellar water, but it feels nice. Picture taking is over. The 14-minute thing is done. I'm taken out. Transport shows up, takes me back to my room. I get up there and I'm like, hey, can I have something to eat? My blood sugar's starting to go low. And they're like, yeah, sure. And they chase something down. I don't even remember. They chased something down for me to eat. Great. And I proceeded to pass out again. which is good. It's those headphones. All credit goes to those noise canceling headphones. Several hours later, although it feels like a minute to me because I was asleep, I'm awoken by a different PA from the cardiology department, and she's like, "Hey, I'm sorry to wake you up. We got the results back from your stress test." And I'm like, "Oh, that quick?" And she was like, "Yeah, I don't want to startle you or anything, but the test revealed that there's a part of your heart that actually isn't getting enough blood supply, which could be explaining your chest pain and your shortness of breath and dizziness. You're not having a heart attack. You're not putting off any enzymes, nothing like that. It's not, don't be overly concerned about it. But in order to really see what's going on from these pictures, we do need to do what's called a cardiac catheter." Now, have you ever heard of that? I said, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure my father-in-law had it. You go up the groin." She goes, "Yes." They go into an artery. Ugh. And snake basically a little camera up to take a look at what's going on in your heart. However, they have been doing it in the wrist lately and finding success because it is a shorter distance and apparently easier. I said, "All right." She goes, "So we're going to schedule that. You're going to have that done tomorrow in the cath lab." So now we're going into Thursday. I said, "Okay. Um, I don't know that I'm going to be able to explain this properly, so can we make 2 phone calls?" And she said, "Sure, I'll talk to anybody." So first I get my husband on the phone. She explains to him what's going on, and he's all like, "Is she going to be okay?" And she goes, "Well, it's hard to tell without doing this procedure. But the way the pictures came out, I mean, it could be anything. It could be a shadow. It could be, a mistake. It could be a false positive. But it looks like there's a lack of blood flow to one part of the heart, and so they have to check for a blockage." Do the same shebang with my mother, and before I even start talking, she starts crying, and I'm just like, "Oh my God, pull it together." Like, I'm not crying yet, and I'm the one who has to go through it. So, I mean, everything was explained again to my mother. And then after I hung up with her, the lady tried to go through it one more time just to say, "Okay, we're going to be checking for a blockage. If during the cardiac cath they find a blockage, you're going to be immediately transported to another hospital about 40 minutes away." I'm like, "What?" And she said, "Well, because you're gonna be sent to a cardiac, like, specialist hospital or something like that, because the hospital I was in is just like a general local hospital, and they weren't well equipped to deal with any sort of, I guess, emergency of that sort." So she made sure to tell me everything else looked good. Your heart is squeezing well. Everything else is fine. It's just there's a possibility. It looks like something is not getting enough blood flow, so we're going to have to do that procedure tomorrow. Okay. After the cardiac PA left, I called my husband right back and I said, "I need anyone, right now." I started having a little bit of a meltdown, and I was keeping it together enough that I wasn't freaking out anyone around me. Like, the nurses didn't know anything was up because I was doing some breathing and grounding exercises, but I was really, like, not having it. And I said, "I need someone. Get somebody here, please." And he's like, "All right, I'll call this person, I'll call that person, I'll call everybody, and we'll find someone." And I'm like, "Okay." He calls me back and he's like, "All right, Mike is gonna come. He's got to go that way anyway, so he's gonna come and hang out with you for a little while before he goes to work." Mike, man, what did I do to deserve this guy in my life? I mean, he's my husband's friend, and I just come with the package, I guess. This guy's like my second husband. Man, he takes care of me, and it's not even his job. I owe Mike so much. So I managed to lull myself into a calm state and doze back off. And then I don't really know the time period that passed, maybe an hour, a half hour, I don't know. Mike shows up and he sits with me and he calms me down. He does a very good job of calming me down because he explains the whole process. Now, I think I did myself a favor by not researching the procedure because I looked at it after I had it done. And it takes a lot to scare me, medically speaking, because I've been through so much in my life so far. Um, I had a general idea of what the procedure was, but when I looked at it afterwards, I was just like, yeesh, yeesh, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm sorry, there are no English words to describe the feeling I had. So, we found out that they were going to try their best to get me on the schedule for the procedure as early as possible because it was another no more eating after 9 p.m., no more drinking after midnight. So another no breakfast. And by the time Mike was getting ready to leave to go to work, we found out that I was on the schedule for 11:30. But right before we found out what time, I called Scott and I said, God, I'm giving his name away. My husband's name is Scott. Sorry for all the ums. I'm just having a time here. I'm having a time. So I called my husband, Scott, and I was like, listen, visiting hours start at 8 a.m. I don't know what time I'm going to be on this thing. It could be 9:30. It could be 11:30. Who knows? Could you just please come? I mean, he's been pretty much MIA at this point. He didn't show up for a whole day. I understand he's busy. I understand he had to work, but he's my husband, and he wasn't there, and it's a tough place to be because he's working and taking care of everything, and he has to take care of himself too. I understand that. I give him that. I just wish he was there. So he promised me that Thursday morning he would be there at 8 a.m. and he would sit with me and we'd get through this together and everything, and good. All right, fast forward. Mike's getting ready to go. We find out I'm on the schedule for 11:30. Fine. He takes off and the rest of it is kind of a blur. I mean, there was some food involved again. I don't know what it was. Sorry. Okay. So Thursday morning, it's just about 8 a.m. and my husband shows up. I look at him and, I'm very vulnerable. I tell him I'm scared. I'm telling everybody I'm scared like every day. I mean, you think about it, your heart is just, it's vital. It's extremely vital. And when you're told that there's possibly something wrong with it, you get a little scared. I mean, this whole ordeal has been quite frightening. I've had situations with migraines that have knocked me out. Thunderclap, they're called thunderclap migraines. I literally just drop to the floor. Ow. I was told to treat my right hand as if it was broken, and I keep trying to use it, and I'm just, like, stupid. Anyway, I told it, I'm scared, and he tried to do his best to reassure me. He's like, don't worry, we'll get through it. I'm here. This and that. And, I mean, we were on the schedule for 11:30, and my bed showed up at 11 o'clock. It was early. We're like, woo, okay, great. Things are usually running very behind in the hospital, and especially if you're not scheduled for first thing in the morning, but that was a nice surprise. Hey, great. Something to be positive about. All right, now I'm coming behind the Laura Mercier Micellar water with the lovely Shiseido refreshing cleansing water. So I hop on the trolley, the gurney, to go for the procedure. And I mean, it is serious. It's a surgery. But they typically don't do general anesthesia. They do local and kind of put you into what they call twilight, where you're awake, but you're not really aware of what's happening around you, and by the time you kind of hop out of it, you don't remember what happened. Now, that is what it's supposed to be. So, they tell my husband to follow because he can be with me the whole time until I go into the lab, in which he just has to sit in a waiting room and wait. So, they prepped me. They shaved my wrist, and then they went downstairs and shaved a little bit because if they couldn't do the wrist, they have to go through the groin. Then they put these disposable sticky defibrillator pads on my back and on my chest. And I'm like, all right, I understand, I think, what this is about. And the nurse was like, yeah, this is just a precaution, just in case something happens, because the two major risks involved with doing a cardiac catheterization are heart attack and stroke. I said, my blood pressure is really high, and it was in stroke zone the other day, and now this is happening. And she goes, oh, well, they're going to monitor you the whole time, and it's actually a very low risk, but we do have to tell you that it is a risk, and it does exist, and we have to just take precautions. And then she starts touching my feet. I don't like people touching my father used to love touching my feet, but when I was a baby, I don't like people touching my feet. Everybody has a thing. I mean, I know I have 100 things, but it's just, I get very uncomfortable when people touch my feet. I can't get pedicures because I'm like a freak of nature and start squirming in the seat and yelping. And I went one time with a coworker. Side note, I went with a coworker to get a pedicure. We were doing a treat yourself kind of day, and I had really cute sandals I wanted to wear, but my insulin pump. Anyway, yeah. She was kind of covering her face because I was freaking out having this lady touch on my feet, and I felt so bad for the woman. I give such a huge tip because she put up with my nonsense. Yeah, I'm generally a good tipper because I know what it's like to work in these industries and just be treated like dirt by people. Anyway, so she's feeling my feet, but at least she started explaining what she was doing. She goes, all right, I'm looking for the pulses in your feet where your arteries are in your feet just in case there's an emergency that we have to tap into. And she took it like a Bic pen and just drew X's on my feet. Okay. X marks the spot where the artery is then. So I am officially all hooked up, attached, drawn on, what have you, shaved, and had my IV line checked and everything was good, ready to go. And I get wheeled into the cath lab, and my husband goes and sits, and I have to shimmy my fat ass from one bed to another. The bed that I had to be on for the procedure, of course, was flat, cold, and narrow, but they inserted pieces, one piece on this side to hold my arm up, which, isn't that delightful? Look at that beaut. That is gorgeous. And then they had to put another one on the other side, but to hold my wrist in such a way where it was, I can't even demonstrate. It was like this. Turn, just really uncomfortably turned. And then they were like, a little more. And then they taped me down. I was like, all right. Because there's no way, if I'm going into Twilight, there's no way that I'm going to be able to hold my wrist steady, This is where things took a turn. And this is where, once again, I'm going to insert a little bit of a content warning. What I'm about to talk about was extremely traumatic for me. And I am dealing with it right now with my therapist. It was so bad that I'm having recurring nightmares. and I had to talk to several people in the hospital because it's rare, but of course it had to happen to me. So, content warning, triggering medical trauma, and some things that might make you woozy. They're supposed to not only numb right where the artery is, they're supposed to numb it locally. So I felt that needle, of course. Felt like a regular pinch. I'm like, it doesn't bother me. And they were supposed to be injecting 2 different drugs into my IV. One to basically an anti-anxiety, just to calm me down. And the other, they told me, was fentanyl. Fentanyl. It's pretty potent, pretty dangerous stuff, but that's what they use. I had fentanyl once before in my life after a surgery, and I will tell you, they gave me a tiny little bit diluted in a bunch of water, and I was out for hours, just out, melted away. I have gone under general anesthesia many times in my life, and I'm familiar with what it feels like. It's, you just kind of, from my experience, is that you get a little sleepy, a little tired, a little warm, and then next thing you know, you're waking up and you're like, what the hell just happened? That's essentially what my general anesthesia experience is. Now, I've been put into a twilight state before. I got all 4 of my wisdom teeth taken out in one shot. And the only pain that I felt is when they put the needles into my gums and the roof of my mouth, and etc. And they were like, oh, you're not even flinching. And I'm like, I can take pain. I can take high amounts of pain. I have a very high tolerance. We know this. So when I was getting all these teeth taken out, the only thing I felt was like, a little disgusting, a crack. The crack of when they broke the tooth off of the bone, like when they take it out. I felt and heard it, but it didn't hurt because I had the painkillers and stuff. And they had given me a little laughing gas, and I was just like, if you've ever had it, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm not really feeling anything going on with the IV. Now, mind you, the artery is over here, and my IV line was over here. I'm still scrubbing to get this shit off my arm. That's where the IV was. So it's like pretty close proximity. I feel them working on the artery area, but I don't feel anything going on with the IV. My wrist gets very cold, and I feel an intense pain go through my wrist and my arm, and then something very cold spilling out onto my skin. I'm figuring, oh, there's water or something's going on there, but why does this hurt so much? And I say, ow, that really hurts. And I hear I vaguely remember somebody saying, oh, she felt that. And then I literally felt something going up my arm. I've blocked out some of this. My nightmares tend to fill in the blanks. But I felt this shit. I felt it in my arm. I felt it in my chest. It wasn't painful in my chest. It was painful in my arm. And I was yelping. And I was supposed to be in twilight. And I wasn't. And I felt everything. And I was ugly crying. I was gasping, and I kept saying, that hurts a lot. Ow, that really hurts. And then one of the doctors is going, what do you feel? I said, I feel something in my arm. It hurts. He's, well, what does it feel like? And I felt like I had a machine over me something over my head so I couldn't see what was going on, and I couldn't reach over and punch this guy because my arm was put down. You know, I really wanted to punch this dude. What do you mean, what does it feel like? You have something in my goddamn artery. And I said, it feels like something sharp in my arm. Come on. So finally, there's one last extremely, I'm going to use the word excruciating pain in my wrist. And I guess that's when something was pulled out. And then I felt something cold on my skin again. And then they're just, whatever, they're cleaning, whatever, and they put a really tight air cast over it because there's legitimately a hole in my artery. And this is bad. You know, a hole in your artery. This is the procedure, and it's very normal what the procedure is, but my experience is not the norm. And I just kept glaring at him, and I guess the surgeon or whatever, or what is it called? The interventional cardiologist. I just glared at him, and I'm like through my ugly crying, and I'm just like, what the hell happened? He was like, I don't know, we gave you the drugs. I'm like, did you? And he just kind of walked away, and I couldn't see anything because I'm still like lying down. I'm like on my back, so I'm like trying to look and see what's going on. And then they removed the machine finally, and I'm just like, crying. And the nurses are like, Jesus Christ, like, what? Are you okay? Like, what's going on? Are you having a reaction to? I said, I'm having a reaction to the fucking pain. Yes, I was speaking this way. I was swearing like a dirty sailor because it hurt so much. Even just thinking about it right now is kind of freaking me out, but I mean, I gotta get it out. So now here I am with an unusable arm, hand, wrist in a tight air cast, being told that I now have to shimmy my fat ass back onto the gurney. They prop my arm up. I'm still crying. They back me into the bay to recover. I'm looking around me at all these people that had the same surgery, or it is a surgery, same procedure that I had, and they're all asleep. Why was I wide awake? Everyone who had the same thing done that I had was still asleep. And my husband comes out and he's like, oh, you're up. And he's like, what? Why are you crying? And I told him it was so bad. And then the nurse comes up and she goes, by the way, you guys know who I am. And I'm just like, and it turns out it's actually someone we know, a family we know, a local family from some community theater we've done, which is kind of funny. But she's explaining to me, she's like, yeah, the things that they don't tell you are when they go through the wrist, it's easier for the doctor, and it is less of a trip, less travel to your heart, but it hurts more when you're a woman just because what the tool they use is one size fits all, but physiologically, a woman's, apparently, I don't know how true this is, but this is what this nurse is telling me, a woman's artery is thinner than a man's. So, but I'm like looking at her going, but this is an inexcusable amount of pain. And if they're saying that they gave me the anti-anxiety and fentanyl, that's it. I'm not getting any other painkillers. And she looked at me and she goes, yeah, unfortunately, you had fentanyl. I'm like, but I'm awake. I'm wide awake. I remember the whole thing. I felt the whole thing. Everyone around me is asleep. I'm up. Something is wrong. Are you absolutely sure they gave it to me? I'm coming up again with this APTO skincare turmeric mist because it's refreshing, cooling, and energizing. I don't really need the energy because I'm pretty fucking amped up right now, but I do need the refreshing and cooling. I can see from my skin, my blood pressure seems to be in check. I'm not inflamed anywhere, but man, this has got me very upset. So, after a time, me still crying my eyes out, I guess this period of time that I was sitting in this little bay on the bed was the time that I was supposed to be coming out of my twilight that I never got into. And my husband is like demanding answers. He's starting to get a little antsy because he's like, why is she in so much pain? This is not normal. I know I sound like a broken record, but when I tell you that I can take pain, I can take pain. And this was beyond anything I had experienced. This was, I mean, I've had major surgery that hurt less than this. So I get wheeled back up to my room, and again, they give me some food, but I don't want to eat because I'm done at this point. I'm like, but the good news is, through all of this, I know I'm focusing on the dramatic here. Well, it's not even dramatic. It was real. It was traumatic. The good news was that the catheterization showed that I had no blockages. So it's a mystery whatever they picked up on the nuclear stress test camera. But they said that my heart was perfect. Literally, they used the word perfect. Pumping exactly how it should be. No blockages. No irregularities. Perfectly healthy. Which is fantastic news. Best thing I could have heard that day. But knowing in the back of my mind, okay, nothing is wrong, fine. Something else is still wrong because I'm still having the chest pain, and why the fuck did I just feel everything that I felt? So I'm back in the room and I don't want to eat. And the nurse is like, you gotta eat or you're gonna have a problem. I'm sick to my stomach because I find out that another content warning, this is gross. The cold stuff that I kept feeling on my wrist, for some reason, it was cold, but it was actually not cold because it was my blood pouring out. Pouring out. Like, onto the floor. This is normal, apparently. But it's just another sensation that I really could have done without. I get it. If this is the way it goes, if this is the way it's supposed to happen, really didn't sit well with me. So every 15-20 minutes, the nurses come, and it's not here anymore, but the air cast, they let a little bit of air out of the cast, and they're thinking, oh, the air cast is causing all this pain. I'm like, no, the air cast is not uncomfortable at all. It's inside and up my arm. And they're like, geez. But ultimately, it was never addressed, and it was just chalked up to, well, maybe they just didn't give you enough fentanyl. That easy. That just... Am I taking this too hard? I don't feel that I am. I don't. So the nurse tells me that, if I don't want to eat what they're giving me, my husband can go out and buy anything I want. He's like, what do you want? Dunkin' Donuts, you want Taco Bell, you want something? He winds up going to Chick-fil-A. And we're not getting political. We're not getting political. We'll just leave it at that. I don't stand for what they stand for, but it's what my husband went and picked up. And I had nuggets and diet frozen lemonade, and the diet frozen lemonade usually makes everything better, and I started to come around. I still had pain, and they couldn't give me anything for it except Tylenol. And that was that. His results came back. Everything's fine with my heart, but there's still a problem because I still have the pain, and my blood pressure is still kind of all over the place. So he comes back with the food and we eat, but he starts freaking out because he's got nowhere to put anything, and he starts yelling at me because my belongings are on the chair next to the bed. And I'm like, Scott, I really don't need this right now. He really has the perfect time to have his little flip outs. And I mean, I really don't understand where it comes from anymore, because it's like he's got enough energy to be the supportive one, and once that runs out, I mean, it's all over. He just goes off. So we eat, and he's all angry because my stuff was on the chair and he had nowhere to put a bag. I mean, I had a whole table in front of me. It made no sense. Whatever. Finally, we're done eating, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna go. And I'm like, why? I need you here. I need your support. He's like, well, I gotta take care of some things. Why don't you just lay back, go to sleep? And he starts moving my bed, and I'm like, really? He's like, just go to sleep. You know, I'll come back later. I roll over. I look at my phone. And at the same time that I look at my phone is a notification from Ring. We have the Ring doorbell video camera. And I'm like, it's 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock at night. I open my phone up to see what's going on, and there's my husband and Mike carrying a pizza box into my house. Well, that answers that. He's not coming back. I needed him. Eventually, the nurse came in and took the air cast off, and I got a good look at my arm, and I just went, oh my God. And the nurse was like, ooh, that's not usually what it looks like. I said, somebody did something wrong here. Why was it so excruciating? And she's like, yeah, it's not supposed to be like that, but everything is checking out with you, so we're just gonna follow protocol here. And they took the air cast off, put a little bandage on it, and wrapped me up. I've changed my bandage since I've been home a couple of times. You know, I'm keeping up with it. But what freaked me out is this is outside of the norm. She said because of the way everything looked and how the procedure went, I have to keep an eye on this. If it starts to bleed or it starts to get hard inside, don't fuck around. You gotta call 911 right away. Because it's an arterial bleed. You will die from that. Okay. So, that's it for the evening. I'm like beyond pissed off. I'm angry, crying. I'm not responding to text messages. I'm not picking up my phone because I'm just so fucking mad. The only person I responded to was my mother. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be doing this on here, but I mean, I'm raw. I'm open. That's just who I am. I'm just a very honest person. And I'm opening myself up to God knows what on the internet. This is hysterical, but whatever. Yeah, I told my mom, I was like, he was supposed to come back. He said he was going to come back, and now he's at home eating pizza. And she's like, I didn't know he was supposed to come back. I bought the pizza for everybody. I figured I'd buy dinner for him and Mike for everything that they're doing. And I was like, I needed him. And she apologized. I'm like, but it's not your fault. So I was very upset. And I'm still very upset. I don't know if I'm more upset about the fact that he wasn't there when I needed him, or the fact that this thing just hurt. And today, it's Tuesday. Actually, no, now it's Wednesday. No. It's Tuesday the 23rd at 2:54 a.m., my usual time to be around. and I apologize. I lost where I was going with anything. I'm tired. When I finally got home on Friday night, which is another story. I should have been home earlier than that, but what am I going to do? I'm relying on other people and I can't complain. When I got home, I saw a beautiful bouquet of flowers my mommy got me. And I was so grateful. She said she wanted to get me candy and she wanted to get me a cactus. She knows how much I love succulents and cacti, and I would have been I'm the one weirdo that would have been thrilled to have another cactus to add to the collection. But the flowers were gorgeous, and I was just so touched that, she sent her aide out to get them because she couldn't get them herself, but it's the thought that counts. And, anytime that I was in the hospital, before she got sick, she'd always show up with balloons and flowers and stuffed animals and candy and things in it, because she knows me, and she knows that kind of stuff cheers me up. And I'm sorry. I miss her. I miss the way things were before she got sick. And I personally am just sick of being sick. I miss her, and I miss my father. He died a gruesome death in 2018 from lung cancer. And I apologize profusely if you're watching this, because I know you didn't come here for this. And I'm sorry. And I know that this is why the video is just clouded with content warnings, because I'm just being raw. And I'm just sick of being sick. And I'm supposed to be on bed rest for weeks, which is fine by me because I am absolutely exhausted, like all the time. Sitting here, honestly, is not a big deal. I'm just sitting at my computer talking and rambling. It is making me a little bit tired, but at the same time, I find joy in filming these videos, and it's cathartic for me to get it out a little bit and maybe find if there's someone else out there who had the same experience that I did, because what I experienced was not normal. So, we've changed the bandages several times since I've been home, and the first reaction my husband had to seeing it, because remember, he wasn't there when they took the air cast off, his first reaction to seeing it open was, "Good God, what the hell did they do to you?" Our arm's a mess. So yeah, we just keep changing the bandage and wrapping it up, and I have to treat my hand like it's broken, yet I keep forgetting to do it. And even though I'm supposed to be on bed rest, I wound up taking the dog out twice today, which is difficult to do with one hand, especially since she's so spunky and energetic, and she tends to try to bolt at other animals and bork at other people, but she was on her best behavior today, I have to say. And because she knows, and she's really been the best nurse. And I don't mind being on bed rest, because I probably already said it, I am exhausted all the time, and they said this procedure and everything I've been through would exhaust anyone, so it's expected that I would just be sleeping. And my bed is very comfortable. It's extra comfortable when I have a warm fuzzy puppy lying next to me taking care of me, my little almost 70 pound puppy. I love her to pieces. Gonna do a little Truly. I talked about Truly very vaguely, because I am going to do an entire series on Truly, because I am an official Truly brand ambassador. I'm a Truly babe. It's not an MLM, multi-level marketing. It's not a pyramid scheme. I have invested $0. It's literally, it's a chance for me to act like an influencer. I know I have a little bit of an audience on Facebook, a little bit of an audience on my Instagram, and I'm gaining a little bit of an audience here. And I'm going to talk a lot more about these Truly products, but right now what I'm using, as you can see, I've been using it. It's the Pineapple Haze CBD Lip Smoothing Polish. It's natural stuff, sugar, pineapple enzymes, which I'm not having an allergic reaction to. Oh, by the way, this tool, I got a 4-pack off of Amazon. I don't quite remember what it's called. I don't know if you can see. It helps. It's a lip scrubby. So I take, there's a little bit of product in the lid. There. And I take it on the brush and we just kind of lightly brush. And it helps to exfoliate and get that moisture in, and it does not hurt at all. I actually went in a little bit harder yesterday off camera because I kept having little pieces of skin on my lip. I was peeling off while I was talking. I'm like gnawing on my lip, but yeah, just kind of going over and hitting the spots. Tastes amazing, feels amazing. Stuff that I swear by. All right. Friends, family, foes, and whoever's watching, I actually want to give a little bit of a shout out to my friend Barbara T. Barbara, Barbie, Babs, whatever you're comfortable with being called. You brighten my day. And your comments, I love interacting with you back and forth. And I truly appreciate your comments and your commentary and our little conversations going back and forth. So, if you want to hit me up, I don't know if there's like a direct messaging option on YouTube. That's how clueless I am. But I just wanted to take a moment to give the shout out to Barbara T for being freaking awesome. And pretty much my newest friend on YouTube. So, thank you. And thank you for your kind words. And yeah. So that's where I'm going to stop for today. I think that pretty much wraps up what I'm going to talk about medically for a while, because I'm now up to speed to where I am today. Just, tied up, bed bound, doing what I can to get around. Having trouble eating, only because, I have one hand and my mom can only do so much. She helped me with the dog today, but I did eat. I ate twice. My husband did bring me some Starbucks. That's some of what I was drinking before, but he got me a little breakfast sandwich. And all right, I'm starting to fade a little bit, so I'm going to stop babbling, but if you made it this far, I apologize for anything I did or said that was triggering. I hope I didn't make anyone uncomfortable. But the whole point of talking about this, not only is it cathartic for me, but it's also to bring awareness to things that happen in the hospital that maybe shouldn't be happening. And I mean, if you've had a similar situation or you know someone who's gone through this, or you have, any advice, opinions, anything of that nature, just let me know. Thanks again, Barbara T. You are a rock star. And as always, take care of yourselves, hydrate, use SPF, be safe, and have a great day. Bye.